Hello there, my name is Mariah Maynard. I am co-writer, producer, and director of Savior Complex. I am 26 years old and I am super excited to be here to talk more about our script writing process for the film.
I'm Samantha Cooper. I'm one of the co-writers for Savior Complex, and I'm really excited to discuss the process, superheroes, and creativity, I guess.
Hi, my name is Brittany Lutz. I am 28 years old and I live in the Northern Virginia area. I've been very excited to collaborate with a lot of these amazing producers and directors and writers. I will be acting as a co-writer in this film.
Ladies, hello. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing great.
I'm good.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give a brief backstory how we even started this film. Many of you guys know about the 48-hour film festival that we have. I made a post on Facebook sharing that I wanted to get a group together to be a part of one of the 48-hour film festivals. Unbeknownst to me, we did not qualify for that film festival. So we had our group together, we had everything ready to go, and then we didn't qualify. So I just said, hey, why don't we still make a movie? And this is how we are, in a nutshell. So yeah, we had a few different meetings, and we had a few different meetings with the main people in the cast, but then it ended up being Brittany, myself, and Samantha, and we wrote the actual story. So yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourselves? Either you can go first.
Sure. Well, I don't have a lot of experience screenwriting. It's something I've been wanting to get into, and I have, with the little bit of experience I had, I was like, you know what? I'll try this out. I have some ideas. It'll be really cool.
Okay, yeah. And she's the one that came up with like the original concept of the superhero. And it was so interesting because as soon as she said it, everyone was like, yes, that's the one.
Yes.
So
When I was saying anything, I'm like, yeah, I have this vague idea about a teenage or, young superhero going to a support meeting after she fails to save her friend. And it's just like, everyone's like, yep, that's it. And that was a very validating feeling.
Awesome. What about you, Brittany?
Yeah, so I have most experience within acting and a lot with musical theater. I'm currently working with a program called JRP. Very excited for that. And I really wanted to also dip my toe for writing and being able
Just
to...
one toe, right?
Just one toe.
Mm-hmm.
Only so I can get some experience and see what it was really like, and having this behind the scenes experience and being able to meet other people that are working in this industry was really amazing. And I really appreciate the opportunity, just learning so much. So thank you again.
Yeah, it was wonderful to have you. She was kind of our mediator. So Samantha brought the superhero ideas, I brought the mental health ideas.
And I was the counselor.
And she was the counselor when we got into arguments or disagreements, and she was like, hey, so that was so ugly with my voice.
And the title as well too is something that I will take credit for. That's one thing that I worked on.
She was like, listen, I made the title. No.
Oh yeah, the title is always so hard.
It was like
tricky
a 3-day conversation for this title, but we finally, she was like, the title, Savior Complex. We were like, all right, that's the one. And then there's like 2 spellings of Savior, if you guys don't know. There's one with the U and one with the O. So
Probably the English version.
British.
Maybe.
Yeah.
British.
Yeah, and we're not British.
Right, so I'm glad we didn't claim that. Right.
Right.
A little bit more about me. I've been writing since I was 5 years old. When I was 10 years old, after the death of Michael Jackson, I wrote how many pages was it? I know that was really dark. When I was...
Oh gosh, nervous laughter.
No, when I was...
Rest in peace.
Thank you, for him, I guess. But when I was about 10 years old, I wrote 70 pages freehand stage play of the Jackson 5 of 2 kids going back in time to see the Jackson 5 for Motown. I was 10 years old and I wrote that down, and I mean, it's crazy thinking about it now. I try to write 5 sentences and my wrist starts hurting because I'm old, and so it's just kind of crazy. So ever since then, it's just kind of been this ongoing love for writing. I went through a period of time where, because of my struggles with mental health, I had like 7 years of writer's block. Like I did not have any encouragement to write. Yes, about 7 years.
About 7 years, yeah. I was actually writing, you jog my memory by saying like what you did as a child. I have also been writing since about like 7 years old, and I was originally writing a lot of like lyrics and songs for, you know, just kind of like little kid stuff. Like that's totally school though, talking about my experience going to school and not liking it and all that kind of jazz. But I also got into poetry in high school, and I was really into it. I think I did pretty well, but then I kind of hit a wall for, you know, after college.
I think it does happen sometimes.
Yeah. And it just like nothing. Like I tried to write a little bit. I have some like different, you know, story ideas, but it just didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was also writing from a young age. I really liked writing stories. I thought I wanted to be an author. And that kind of changed over time. When I was younger, I wrote a lot of fan fiction. Of course I did. And then I got into college, things got pretty busy, and then I started working as a journalist for a very short amount of time, and that took a huge toll on my mental health. I was very stressed out, very overworked, and underpaid.
That underpayment can really
that's
your creativity.
And because I was writing so many articles, I was just like, okay, I don't have time to write anything else. Then I quit the job, and that was in February of 2020.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of unemployed for a while because pandemic. And that's when I started writing again. I started a YouTube channel with a friend. That kind of ended, and I started a new YouTube channel recently. I'm writing more. I had a blog where I reviewed cartoons for a while. I was just any kind of writing to just keep me up, and this creative writing with screenplays, that's really been
innocence that comes in childhood that makes writing easier, but then there's that weird period between entering into adulthood where it can be a little bit harder to write, especially if you are dealing with mental health issues. That makes it 10 times harder. Awesome.
So I guess that mainly falls to me.
I had an opinion, she had an opinion, everyone had an opinion, the dog had an opinion. It was intense. That was one of those times where you really had to learn how to properly communicate what it was you were trying to do, because there were some misunderstandings, but then I think like, okay, we kind of understood. And Samantha, it was, well, not Samantha, but I didn't mean to call you out, but
I think the issue is I can be kind of aggressive sometimes. And Mariah and I found out we have very similar personalities, but just very different ideas of how they should go. So we were butting heads a lot.
It was fun. The mediator. It was a fun time. She was in the middle. She was like, I have this title, so I'm good.
I feel like my idea at first was very different. So then like kind of forming my own ideas into your idea too, and kind of like taking the back seat was challenging at first, but it really helped.
I also think that because I had came up with the idea, it felt like kind of my baby, and I was very
the baby.
She's like, my precious. Like, literally.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think everyone had to step back in their own way, because I had an idea, but I had an original idea that we didn't go with. So it's like we went to the original idea, we went with my ending, and she was like, okay, I gotta take a step back. We went with my title. So there was like,
the lookbook as well.
Yeah, the lookbook. I know. I was like, we went with the title and the lookbook. So everyone like put in their 3 cents, since there's 3 of us. So I do think it turned out well, though. The importance of character diversity and dynamics.
Of course. And I'll start here. With character diversity, I think it's very important to have opposing characters, so then you're having more of a plot line that's developing. There's some type of conflict, whether that's the internal or external conflict, that's going to also develop into the writing as well. So we are able to actually create something instead of having like one static character that's just like doing something that's not meaningful. We're able to have some opposing factors that are coming against this character, and it's able to like develop them and like, help them think outside themselves too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I always am going for like not just personality, but like just showing the range of human experience.
Yeah, that's good.
Of human diversity, yeah.
I thought there was more to that. I was waiting.
I thought there was 2, and then I lost my train of thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, that was good. I think the range of human diversity is vital. Sometimes I think we think diversity is just skin color, ethnicity. No, it's It's attitude, it's behavior, it's what
Upbringing.
drives people, it's upbringing, it's belief systems. There's a lot of different kinds of diversity. And so we did actually spend quite a bit of time dissecting each individual character. There's about 6. So we spent quite a bit of time doing that. We did butt heads with some of that too, but we came together.
Yeah.
And I think it did make sense at the end. So that was definitely a fun time. Do you have any fun facts about superheroes?
Ooh, I'm trying to think. Because what I know is what I think are very basic fun facts about superheroes.
Well, I don't know them, so you can. Okay.
So, like, one of my favorites is people are always like, oh, Superman is an allegory for Christ. And I'm like, that's not correct. Because, one, he was created by 2 Jewish men.
Oh, interesting.
And if you look at his backstory, in that he was put in a pod to go to Earth, that's more of a Moses allegory.
Oh, wow.
And he's also
that's very deep.
And he's also supposed to be an Ubermensch, like the perfect person.
what?
Ubermensch.
I thought you said Uber, like Uber
You might
Eats.
need like a translator for that.
Ubermensch. Uber means good, and Mensch in Yiddish is like, a good person.
Oh, it's another language.
Yes, that's
Okay.
why, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get.
I understood the Uber part, but
Sorry.
I was like, I need a little
Yeah,
bit.
Mensch is like a good person, so he's like the best. He's supposed to be like
The supreme version.
the supreme version. Like he
He's
was
the best
created in
human.
World War II, during World War II. So like
Yeah,
he was a very controversial character
Yes.
because even though we were fighting the Nazis, he was like punching Nazis, and some people thought, oh, we shouldn't do that.
How we got to Nazism? I was like,
Sorry.
No,
like,
no, you're fine. You're fine.
A lot of American superheroes were created by Jewish people, and that's really important to me as a Jewish person. And they have all these really interesting backstories. Like,
That's really cool.
Actually, no, that was really cool.
I'm just gonna throw my one fact in there that you already knew. So that was kind of like, oh man. But Hulk was originally
She's like,
supposed
my
to be
fact
gray.
is not as
My
good.
fact was not as good. But Hulk was originally supposed to be gray and not green. And I was like looking up on Google, like doing my like real research and
My real research.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
went to a smaller Comic-Con a couple of years ago, and I got to meet Dante Bosco, who voices Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I just saw a video of him. And
Dante
I don't know how he
Bosco or
looked. Yes.
Avatar? Oh, okay.
I'm studying voice acting right now as well, so
Yeah.
I was like so inspired to see because I love Zuko as a kid.
Yeah, also, fun fact, I actually know the guy who voiced Aang.
Really?
Yeah, he was
Wow.
actually one of my brother's friends growing up. So he was actually like 12 years old when he was voicing.
Where's your
Well,
royalty
It was
paycheck?
legitimate, yeah.
I
I
wasn't
know
in it. I do have, he did autograph a script for me though.
Oh, that is nice.
That's sweet.
He was very awkward about it because, he was like 12, 13, and he's just
yeah,
like,
that is really
just a little
awkward.
kid.
Yeah.
he was just like, I don't want all this attention. And I'm like, I love the script, I love you.
I like your
I had to
Okay.
I think that I want to tie that back into writing as well, like writing for different like series, different shows that we've watched, and like having like the spin-off kind of series, like creating character dynamics that are not originally in the main series,
Yeah,
but like
that's
having
fun. With fan fiction.
the fan fiction. Yeah, like I think that that was a really important part of like learning how to like build characters.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I would. This is giving myself away as a nerd, but like at one point in time, like with the Shadowhunter series, I loved Maya. Right, she was my favorite character. I would always do like the portrayal of her like with my friends like on Facebook. We'd have like different group chats.
How old were you?
This was when I was probably like maybe 18, 19 years old.
Oh, okay, so you weren't like 10. You were like
No,
an
I was
adult.
an adult. But I was a theater. I was a theater adult, and it was really important
No,
that I
no,
was like
that's-
always
yeah, that's
doing
good.
something theatrical, and that was my way of like being able to develop a character and like actually write like what they would say.
I think it's important that we find our people. That like no, like it
Exactly,
is vital.
You're right.
It really
Our
is.
mental health too.
I actually can discuss some of my own personal mental health struggles, or if anyone else wants to share.
And
Yeah.
I actually work for the American Counseling Association for their magazine. So I often interview mental health counselors.
Okay, yeah. So we can kind of go back and forth with that one. So it's interesting. So when it comes to mental health, a lot of times some of the things I deal with includes anxiety, depression, ADHD, but I have quite a bit of, I have more, but I'm not gonna go into it, but I have quite a bit of different supports in place. So therapy has been helpful, support groups, having a community, prayer, journaling. Like there's different things that help to maintain the symptoms and also address the root of some of the symptoms. I'm a strong believer that lifestyle actually has a lot to do with it. The lifestyle we have here in America, I really don't think is conducive to good mental health.
No, it's not.
And self-care. So apparently in Switzerland, and maybe some people in Switzerland, if you guys are there, you can correct me, but they have like a quiet day on Sunday where it's just completely quiet. They're not even allowed to mow their lawn. And I think that we just don't understand what it means to be quiet, to be still, to rest. There's a lot of doom scrolling, and that can make some of those racing thoughts worse, some of those things like that.
The
So
doom scrolling, I feel called out. I do that a lot.
I think a lot of us think that that's resting.
yeah,
Taking
that's
a
one of
break.
the,
That's such a good
not,
point. Yeah.
But like my
It's not.
favorite way to do self-care is like a nice hot bath with like bath salts and bubble bath and just kind of sit there and maybe
Candles.
listen to music or
Just relax.
read something.
One of the biggest things in this particular script is one of the
PTSD?
PTSD is something that we discuss. Grief is really a big part of it, and anxiety, panic attacks. So for me personally, I wouldn't say I have PTSD, but I do believe in CPTSD, and I believe that it's very real. And you know, obviously, just for those who don't know, PTSD comes from big trauma such as war, car accidents, an abuser. So actually, constant abuse is CPTSD because it is constantly happening, and you know, that's why. But car accidents, war, you know, and unfortunately, like if there's
Big
a school, you know, situation, those are PTSD. CPTSD is going through little t trauma over and over and over again. So I really relate. Well, the main character goes through a big T, a PTSD event. And that's why she even attends the support group. And after her PTSD event, it really causes her to become numb, to dissociate. It almost seems like she has sensory issues with her surroundings. She's not really engaging with the people around her. Not present, very antisocial. But then there's another character that has more of an upbeat personality. And it's like, hey, how you doing? She's like, oh my gosh, get away, you know, very into the positivity movement, and it's interesting because her and I, we've been friends for a while, and she's definitely more the positive person, and I'm more of like the pessimistic person.
Realistic.
And realistic.
That's the optimism coming out again.
Yeah, right, that's the optimism. I think so. Positivity, I believe, can get toxic sometimes.
Yes.
It can get toxic, especially for the person that goes through ongoing suffering that's out of their control. It's one thing when you cause your own suffering, but that's a whole different topic. But there's some things that are just out of people's control. And so one of the things that I wanted to present in this film is that it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to grieve. It is okay to show our weaknesses. And I find that a lot of times when we show our weaknesses, that's when a lot of the healing begins. So that we can begin to have more of that positive mindset because you actually allowed yourself, like, hey, you know, I allow myself to go through that grieving process, so now I'm here to where I can receive the information that someone else is sharing. But I liked us creating that character, one that's super positive, the one that's struggling. Her positivity is almost to the point of like not mania, I'm not gonna say that, but just like racing thoughts and just like kind of like all over the place, you know, very jumbled and all over the place. So yeah, that's my little 2 cents. Any other thoughts?
I don't think so, not at the moment.
Yeah, I would say that having the opposition of the extra positive and the one that wants to be left alone, at times those two need each other.
Yeah.
And they might not realize it, especially the positive one. Like, I think the positive one is like going a little bit too quickly, kind of in their own world. And the other one's in their own world as well. So they have similarities.
Yeah.
But if they would take a moment to like look at the other person for like what they're going through maybe, and maybe that positive person is not always, you know, happy.
They might be just like presenting as positive or masking as positive just because that's the best thing that they can do to get through their day, right?
What kind of tips do you have for people who want to either begin their writing journey or continue their writing journey?
Don't be afraid to suck.
That's a good
Also, join a writing group. Get feedback from someone. And get it from people who know what they're doing, and sometimes from people who don't. Because the people who don't know what you're doing are your audience.
Yes,
And the people who do know what you're doing can help you with all the technical stuff and with pacing and stuff.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to writing in general, definitely put the suck in success of just going out and writing whatever you can. If that's having a schedule to write, like writing every morning from like say 9 to 9:30, just putting your thoughts down, journaling is a form of writing as well. And you're able to kind of go back and see like your progression over time of like, I wrote this on this day because this happened. And then you want to write something about that topic, you can go back to that time. You can say, how was I feeling in August? You know, and like what was going on in my life at this point, or what kind of words did I use for my my descriptive, journal, whatever it is. Also, like you said, getting around people that know what they're doing, taking classes. Like I think it's really huge to invest to. Might be a controversial topic, but when it comes to like the performing world as well with acting, you have to invest into your career. If you want to be successful, you want to take writing classes, you want to do workshops like continuously.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's important. I will say that when you're writing, try to set the atmosphere, put on some music, put yourself in a mindset to be able to write freely. I love putting my earphones in. I usually like to make sure that I have music playing, or I listen to rain sounds a lot of the time. So I want to make sure that you have the room set. I usually put my music playing and I listen to rain sounds so that I can be focused on what I'm writing, not be distracted by my surroundings.
Cell phones.
Cell phones, none of that. It's better to write in a journal than it is on a cell phone. I get it sometimes, or at least for me, I get it sometimes that writing in a cell phone can be really convenient and there's a time for it, but I do think physically writing in a journal is helpful. Wow, I had ideas and they all just left.
I usually type on my computer, and depending on what kind of writing I'm doing, like if I'm writing for work, I'll listen to music or a podcast. If I'm trying to write creatively, I'm actually more likely to listen to like a video essay on YouTube because I just need background that I tune out. And if I do music, I'm gonna be influenced. I gotta find the right music, and that's just gonna take up too much time.
The kind of music that you listen to does really affect your writing as well.
Or looking for a playlist that has to do with the topic that you're maybe writing about, or like the world that you're creating. Like if it's science fiction, maybe looking up like something crazy, Transformers, Star Wars, whatever it is.
Music has a lot of, I find that music has a lot of impact with writing. One of the other things is brain dumping.
Yes.
You say don't be afraid to suck, but just with brain dumping, it's not really about sucking or not. You're just writing stuff out, just to get it out.
I call it word vomit. Like if I'm writing, sometimes I just need to keep typing and writing and just get all the ideas out, and then like go back to it like a day or so later and be like, either like, what was I thinking? This makes no sense, or be like, like this is how I can fix it. And
sometimes you have to let your writing pieces rest before you go back to them.
Yes,
very true.
Even for years.
Sometimes I go back to it. Yeah. I think a lot of the stuff that I wrote back when I was like 16, I understand now as an adult more so.
Yeah.
And that's something that continuously also, or I'll say one more tip on my end is like doing a lot of voice recording, because I'm a more kind of auditory kind of person, like where I like to hear myself, and I also like to say it and get it out. And like even for song lyrics, like I'll wake up from a dream and I'll like write it in like say my notes on my phone, but then I'll also record like how it sounds so I don't forget it. Gotcha. And that could be also like a character description, or that could be maybe a plot idea that you come up with.
It's true. That is definitely true. The other one is, like you said, if you've written before, going back and reading those writings have been super inspiring for me, especially when I haven't read a lot of them in months. I'm like, oh my goodness, I wrote that. Like you end up inspiring yourself. And read books. My goodness, read books, watch movies. Like you don't have to reinvent the wheel. No, wait a minute. The wheel. It's the wheel.
If you want to write scripts, read scripts.
If you want to write scripts, read scripts. you have to learn from others' mistakes, from what others have done, what works, what doesn't work. You have to learn the rules in order to break them. Do you ladies have any more possible projects in the future? I know that for this particular Savior Complex series, we do have some mini shoots that are coming up. Some behind the scenes footage. We're gonna go to a few places as a team, go on some field trips, as I like to call them, take some video, show it to you guys. And then we also have 2 visual poetry shoots that are coming up soon, which I'm super excited about. And yeah, those are the ones that I'm thinking about right now. Every day in terms of writing, I'm noticing that since being on this project, the creative ideas have begun to flow a bit more. I'm seeing things like, oh, okay, that would be interesting. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on my end. I am focused mainly on this one project and making sure that I can give my assistance to people in their other projects. So I am still talking to people saying, hey, can I edit this or can I help you PA for this?
Yes.
My mom told me a quote that said, vision provides for vision. So you really have to, if someone else has a vision, you sow into that vision, and then they come and sow into your vision. It's one of those things to where there is an element of like, okay, taking that back seat and being like, hey, what do you need? So that when it's time for them, you're like, okay, what do you need? So yeah.
Yeah, I think those are amazing. I'm definitely excited to be a part of a lot of those. And within my own personal writing, I have been inspired to actually write some monologues, which is really cool. And being able to kind of pair like my acting with my writing is something that I'm very passionate about at this point, of like writing my own content and performing it and putting things on YouTube, just exposure. Like I think being around other creative people again, like after 7 years, it's been a long time. Before I was working in more of like the kind of the office setting or even retail settings, different things that were, just not the same. And having people that are able to pour like into you and to pull the ideas out of you is crucial. Like, and they also inspire like the conversations that we've had like between the 3 of us, and especially between you and I as friends for years now. Like we've had many conversations of like what we wanted to do, and it has not been the right time until now.
Yeah,
and everything's just like opening up. It's very exciting.
So I am writing a script. It's based off this book I read when I was like a teenager and didn't read about a brother and sister who find out that the maze in their garden leads to parallel universes. And I got really inspired by it, and I'm adapting it. I'm changing quite a few things in my adaptation into a screenplay, and I'm working with a screenwriting group on that. And what's really cool is I was recently on social media and someone was posting about working on an academic paper on the author, and so I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, I'm writing a script based off this book of theirs. I'd really love some feedback from someone who knows the author and his work. Can you read it? And they're like, yeah, of course, that's really cool.
That's awesome.
And so they're currently looking over. I'm really excited for their notes.
Yay.
That's awesome.
It's
important.
And so hopefully like I can continue with that like throughout, because I really only have like 10, 15 pages written.
No.
And this is going to be like a feature, so at least like 90 to like 120 pages.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like you got
so many
this.
things going on with with your writing. I think that like you like having your idea like to bring into this project was really inspiring, and I just want to say thank you again for both of you. But
Thank you.
it's been very inspirational, and
I appreciate you ladies a lot. I think that we chose a good solid group of people, even though we butt heads. Like at the end of the day, I kept saying like, the people we were working with, we worked well to come up with what I believe a complex and dynamic story, as opposed sometimes it's harder to bring in different perspectives when you're just doing it by yourself, and it takes a little bit longer. It's possible and it does happen.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate the different perspectives from both of you ladies, and I am just excited for you guys to see Savior Complex and everything that you are contributing to is going to go into furthering awareness about mental health issues, about self-care, about anxiety, PTSD, grief, but it's also going to approach it from the perspective of a superhero, which is not just a colorful character. It's not just someone with cool powers. Superheroes have more complexities to them.
Yes.
And a lot of times there are everyday superheroes that have to be acknowledged too, that go through stuff and you think, oh, Superman is the best one, Batman is the best one, but then you think about the single mom or the firefighter or people that are the ones that are our everyday superheroes, and we have to give them respect. We have to allow them space to have their weaknesses too, just like every main superhero has their own weakness. So I think with that, I appreciate working with you ladies. And high five. Oh my gosh, it was so hard. Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, got it.